the appropriate time. When addressing the village board, your remarks are limited to 3 minutes, please. When the president recognizes you, please state your name and address for the record and speak loudly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Brown. Ms. Brown? Yes. You want to come to the podium?
Good evening. My name is Mary L. Brown, and I live at 2125 South 18th Avenue in Broadview. And my concern is the streets on 18th, on the side behind the Blue Note is really bad. They got potholes from this corner, you jumping from one corner and you falling into another pothole. So the street.
Ms. Brown, I don't mean to cut you off, but are you here for the public hearing or public comment during our regular board meeting? Because this is for the discussion for the vacation of the certain streets in Broadview.
Well, they said the meeting, I said for both, I wanted to talk about the street and why did they cut the alley off?
Okay, you at the right meeting, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reason I asked why did they cut the alley off from 18th and 17th to go to 17th and made a walkway because of they building 3 stores or something across there, but they cut the alley off, so they only got one way. They come in the alley and go down the alley, and they come in and go down speed. So the residents that's on the side where they put the new parking lot, we catch it because of our garages from the street, the plain street coming through.
Does that conclude your comment?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Upshaw, you want to address Ms. Brown's concern as it relates to the behind the Blue Note, because I think the issue is behind the Blue Note, not this particular property.
Okay. You could have a seat as well.
David Upshaw, Building Commissioner for the Village of Broadview, Economic Development Director. As it relates to the condition of the alley, we'll be taking a look at that. I will also communicate, I see the police chief here, as to the traffic that is going down the alley. But I think that is your concern and how that can be addressed. I will get your name after the meeting. I'll get your name and number after the meeting and put you in contact with the police chief as well as the public works director.
Thank you. Okay, that's it, Ms. Brown? Because it is a public hearing, are there any other concerns or questions that you all would like to ask that did not submit a public comment form?
Yes, good evening. My name is Josephine R. Loud. I live at 2047 South 16th Avenue in Broadview, and I'm concerned about them cutting off Fillmore from 17th to 16th. We're already in a cul-de-sac situation over there, and we're not gonna have, how are the emergency vehicles gonna get to our houses? My house is, can I step over to the?
Sure.
Where you're talking about cutting off Fillmore Street. Fillmore Street, this is where my house is, right here. And this is where my neighbor's house is, right here. You're gonna cut that street off. We cannot go down that street anymore. I go from my house down to 25th Avenue to go to my church. Now, I can come out on Roosevelt Road, and I won't have a problem going to the right. But when I have to come out and go to the left to get on Roosevelt Road, depending on the time of day, I'm gonna be sitting there for hours. You cannot get out on Roosevelt Road from there. I don't understand why they're cutting off that street. That's not the actual building, that's a recreational park. Why can't we have our street there? And going this way, 3 blocks down, you've got the barriers. So we're trapped over there. If something major happens, how are the emergency vehicles gonna get to us? I don't think it's fair for you all for our village to cut off our street like that.
Does that conclude your comment?
Yeah, that
Thank
concludes
you.
my comment.
Commissioner Upshaw, would you like to address her comment?
As it relates to 17th and Fillmore, we're not cutting off the street. When we talk about the vacation, we are going from 17th Avenue to the alley, not to 16th Avenue, but to the alley. So you will have access as it relates to the alley and 16th. We are not cutting off from the alley to 16th going east. We also have had a safety committee meeting, and the police and the fire and the public works department were present, and all issues were addressed at that time as it relates to any and all life safety issues. But I want to make it perfectly clear that we are not cutting off 16th through 17th.
I'm not understanding it.
Can you please come to the mic?
Come to the
Thank
mic,
you.
please?
I thought from the last meeting that we attended, I thought,
Can you please state your name for the record?
I'm Daisy Wilson, I live at 2101 South 16th Avenue. So I'm right on the corner. My concern, and from what I understood, is that the access would be like a U-turn into the complex, and that would be facing 16th Avenue, which means that we would only be able to turn right onto 17th Avenue out. Is that correct? Okay, so then I don't understand. I thought it was one way going right. But I will tell you, I come in all the time from where I work. I come in and I come down to 16th Avenue and turn in to go to my house. Why? Because of the light. You cannot, for your life of me, I'm going east on Roosevelt Road, you can't make a left turn without a light. So we have to go down 16th Avenue and get onto Roosevelt Road, or go to the next street over to get onto 17th Avenue. That traffic is unstopping, especially certain times of the day. The only time I can see where we wouldn't have a problem would be maybe Sunday. But the funerals that we have on Saturday, you will sit and sit and sit.
Thank
So
you.
explain to me about the entrance and exit off. Oh,
Thank you.
Commissioner Upshaw?
I think that a lot of the questions and concerns that the residents have will be answered as we go through this hearing. And also after the hearing, the information session part, you will be able to make a comment or any additional questions. And if they're not answered or you need some additional information from me, feel free, I'll give you my business card and you guys can call me or come and sit with me and we can go through it so you have a better understanding.
Thank you. Trustee Horn, you have any questions or comments?
No,
Trustee Tierney?
no, I don't.
Trustee Senior?
I do not.
Trustee Miller?
I do. So I did hear a lot of concerns from the residents when we were out over the last few months regarding the senior housing complex and that street, and I'm a little confused too. Vacating from the alley back to 17th still restricts their access to get back on 17th off of Fillmore, correct?
That is correct.
So in order for them to get back to 17th, they either have to head back north to Harvard or go back south to Roosevelt in order to even get off of 16th Avenue, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you. I got one question. How many letters were sent out to the residents that this is impacted by?
If I may, Mayor, give information as it relates to notice.
Yes.
And before I get started, I just want to introduce, we have Jim Goomis, who is the village engineer. We've got Doug Ross and Jim Walgars from Ross Financial are working with us on the project, and we also have Matt Ingersoll, which is counsel. While there's no explicit statutory requirement that the village give notice or even a hearing, the village administration insisted on doing both in the interest of transparency and to ensure that any resident during this proposed vacation have the opportunity to speak or to do so. That being said, notice was given. It was put in the Chicago Sun-Times on June 14th, 2019. It was posted on our property located at 21 17th and Fillmore, 2101 17th and Fillmore. It's posted in the Village Hall information window. It's on our village website, as well as over 70 letters were sent out to residents within 250 to 300 feet of the proposed development. So I just want to let you know that.
How many letters were sent?
Over 70.
Were any returned for non-address or
No.
notice of?
Thank you, Commissioner Upshaw. I'll make I'm calling for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll entertain at this time a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
You need a second?
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Miller, seconded by trustee Horn to adjourn the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, this hearing is hereby adjourned at 7:24 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner Upshaw. Our regular board meeting will be starting in about 6 minutes, so we'll take a little break.
How are you, Deborah?
You just need to like to call our regular board meeting to order at 7:35 in the Village Chambers located at 2350 South 25th Avenue. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Miller,
Here.
Trustee Jones, and Abraham are absent. Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Trustee Senior,
Here.
Trustee Tierney,
Here.
Trustee Horn.
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we all pause for a moment of silence? Thank you. Item 2 is public comments. I'm going to read the rules for the public comments. The Village of Broadview encourages citizen input. Those wishing to address the village board under public comments must fill out the attached speaker request form and submit it to the village clerk prior to the start of the board meeting. The president will then call your name at the appropriate time. When addressing the village board, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. When the president recognizes you, please state your name and address for the record and speak loudly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. If you have mobile devices, can you please move them to silent at this time? Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Eric Cummings? Can you come to the podium, please?
Good evening, everyone. You can hear me, right?
Good evening. Yes.
Cool. All right. My name's Eric. I'm a lowly trustee at the Broadview Public Library District. My whole purpose of coming here is to let you all know that we are moving forward with our construction with the help of the village administration, specifically the building commissioner has been helping out, as well as the public works commissioner. As far as the timeline for completion, I like to be honest and realistic. I'm hearing December, January, February. I know, long ways away, right? But I will keep you all updated as far as, you know, any shavings as far as time, but we are pushing forward, and I just wanted to thank the mayor for helping us out. It has been a grueling conflict, but I'm trying to, how do I want to say this, squashing and create some type of future partnership between us, because there's no reason why our districts can't work together. We're not going to get anywhere if we don't. I only know because in my spare time I've been to several other townships, and I don't see areas that prosper that have conflict going on. So I just want to say thank you, and hopefully we can work out something together. And on that note, I have to depart. Got a 11-year anniversary to finish up, so I bid you adieu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So, Mr. Cummings is actually the board president for the library, for the Broadview Public Library, and we are working really hard to establish the partnership to have a healthy working relationship to move the village forward. So it's all of our taxing bodies to make that happen. So we appreciate him taking some time out, and happy anniversary, Trustee Cummings. Ms. Ida Hop,
Do I really have to go over there?
Yes,
you
please.
really have to go over there. Well, we stream live.
We know you're loud.
Sorry to sing.
Give us a few bars here,
Yeah, right.
I'm just wondering if the village is going to paint the curbs. You know, in the past, they have done that already. They've hired young people to do the yellow curb things, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ms. Hop. Ms. Deborah Vaughn.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good evening.
I am Deborah Vine, CEO of The Answer Incorporated, and I am here just to say thank you to Chief Kenny and her team for conducting a disaster training for the autistic individuals in our group. Thank you to Chief Euling for allowing us to conduct autism training for your officers. And lastly, a big thank you to Commander Costa for all the work him and his team does for Special Olympics. And on September 21st, at our annual gala, The Answer Incorporated is acknowledging Commander Costco with the James Harlan Hero Award.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vines. Mr. Clerk?
All right, thank you. Item 3 is communications. On July 13th, 2019, the Village of Broadview will host the second annual Health and Wellness Fair. I did not bring any information with me to tell the specifics. Madam President, do you have details on that?
For,
The Health and Wellness Fair?
yes, the Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, July 13th, from 11 to 2 p.m. right here at Village Hall.
Thank you, Madam President. Next item is the Proviso Township Senior Handyman Services. There are flyers for the handyman services that Proviso Township promotes. Every month they have different items, so please stay tuned. We have those right there in the lobby, and if you like, we can send that to you electronically as well. Please contact the clerk's office for further information. Next item, 4, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the June 3rd, 2019 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President?
Trustee Miller?
No comments.
Trustee Senior?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustees Jones and Abraham are absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you. Next item, minutes from the June 17th, 2019 regular board meeting. Trustees, just so you are aware, I did not send this in your package on Friday. However, I did provide a hard copy for you today. Those minutes were done last minute for your information. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Miller. Madam President?
Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
None.
Trustee Tierney?
No questions.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustees Jones and Abraham are absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you.
you.
Item 5, consideration to approve expenditures. Grand total of all funds, $1,405,692.22.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President?
Thank you. In the absence of Trustee Abraham, Trustee Tierney, would you please read the warrant list?
Yes, I will. First item we have is L Warrant Oil Company, $17,727.90. We have AT&T, $5,693.36. B&F Construction, $9,603. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, $157,614.19. Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency, $189,388.80. CDS Office Technologies, $2,656.12. Commonwealth Edison, $3,921.91. Core and Main LP, $212,194. Delgado Law Group, $12,366.25. Edwin Hancock Engineering, $74,992.70. FGM Architects, $21,084. Geno's Heating and Plumbing, $69,405. Grasso Graphics, $2,678.36. Groot Inc., $43,524.88. H&H Electric, $3,076.26. Lincoln National Life Insurance, $5,470.63. McAdams Landscaping, $4,200. Orlando Lawn Service, $3,175. Riley Construction, $472,757.12. T&T Towing and Recovery, $3,900. UniFirst, $34,600. West Cook Solid Waste Agency, $18,874.26. Total expenditures over $2,500 for this cycle is $1,368,903.74. Total expenditures, $1,405,692.22 for 97%. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Trustee Tierney, would you read the funds from what accounts come out of?
Okay. From the accounts, general fund, we have $258,475.63. From the garbage, we have $62,399.14. From the CDBG fund, it's $14,112.70. Capital Projects Fund, $586,669.87. Water and Sewage Fund, $484,034.88, for a grand total of $1,405,692.22, for a grand total of $1,405,692.22.
Thank
Concludes
you.
my report.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Jones?
No question.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Tierney?
No questions.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, please let the record reflect 7:44, Trustee Jones arrived to the meeting. Roll call, Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Aye.
Trustee Abraham is absent, Trustee Senior,
Yes.
Trustee Tierney,
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Madam President, the bills are paid 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is 6, committee reports. Committee reports are given at every first meeting of the month, starting with streets, sidewalks, and alleys. Trustee Senior.
I do not have anything at this time, but I will be meeting with Matt soon so we can come up with some information.
All right, thank you, Trustee Senior. Next is Finance Committee, Trustee Abraham, who is absent. Madam President, do we have anyone in her stead giving a finance report?
We don't have an update, but there will be, the next Finance Committee meeting will be on July 10th at 7:30, right here in the chamber.
Thank you, Madam President. Next is the Business License Committee, Trustee Jones.
I have no licenses to report.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Next is Fire, Police, and Civil Service, Trustee Tierney.
I have no report.
Thank you, Trustee. Next is Water, Drainage, and Health, Trustee Miller.
I just want to encourage everyone to make sure that you have your new water meters installed. And if you don't, contact the Public Works Department as soon as possible so that you can get on the install list. As well as if you know any of your neighbors that maybe no longer are in their properties anymore, give that information as well to the Public Works team so that we can go about contacting the owners to get those water meters installed as well so that the village can be in 100% of new water meters in all of our homes. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Miller. Next is the Building and Public Property, Trustee Horn.
Good evening, everybody. Last week, I met with Commissioner Upshaw. We took a tour of the entire village, and I got an opportunity to see all the vacant properties that the village owned. We went through some of the context related to those properties, why the village purchased them, and things we could do to sell them, or ideas related to those specific properties as it relates to how it can benefit the village. I made some suggestions, and those suggestions will be brought up in a committee meeting that I would like to have on July 15th. I need to get the buy-in of the rest of the committee members first before I formalize it and communicate it to the public. I would like to encourage anybody that's interested in getting information about those vacant properties. You may be interested, you should contact the building department to get more information about it. Is there anything else you would like to add, Commissioner Upshaw? So July 15th is the date that's tentative at the moment, and I'll communicate it once I get the buy-in from the other committee members.
What time, Trustee?
I will hope to have it an hour before the board meeting to try to just capitalize off the entire day.
So tentatively, July 15th, 6:30 p.m.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the committee reports. Next item 7, new business. Item A, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of an engagement letter from Baker Tilly Virtual Cross LLP for the provision of certain financial services to the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second?
It's been properly motioned by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Horn. Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Jones?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
None.
Trustee Tierney?
No questions.
Trustee Horn?
No questions.
So for the record, I would just like to say for timing and fees for year ending April 30th, 2019, the financial statement audit is $49,440. For the 4 TIF audits is $13,800 for a total of $63,240. For April 30th, 2020, the financial statement audit, it will be $50,925. The 4 TIF audits is $14,220 for a total of $65,145. And for April 30th, 2021, $52,450. The 4 TIF audits will cost $14,640. The total amount is $67,090. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is B, a resolution authorizing and approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Broadview and Comaric School District Number 94 related to crossing guard services in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Tierney, seconded by trustee Jones. Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Thank you. The only difference with this agreement is that it's an amendment to the agreement that we have for an additional, so instead of every year, it's every 2 years, and the cost is still $8,000. Trustee Miller?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Senior?
None.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Roll call, trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item C, a resolution of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, reappointing Sandra Buckoy to the Firefighters Pension Board, period.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President, open for discussion.
Thank you. Ms. McCoy has served on the Fire Pension Board in the previous year. Her term expired, so this is just a reappointment. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Jones?
Do I have nothing?
Trustee Singh?
None.
Trustee Tierney?
No question.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Roll call, trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy, for your service.
All right, next item D, an ordinance vacating a portion of Fillmore Street between 17th Avenue and 16th Avenue in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Horn, seconded by trustee Senior. Madam President.
Thank you. We've had the public hearing prior to our regular board meeting at 7 o'clock. Trustee Miller?
I don't have any questions.
Trustee Jones?
Well, I wasn't present at the public hearing, and I apologize for my absence, but I was coming from somewhere else. Anyway, that being said, part of the problem, part of the issue that we've had in Broadview for a while is of a parking nature. Mr. Upshaw, thanks. And I do know that the reason that we are talking about vacating 16th Avenue between Fillmore between 16th and 17th is related to the senior development project that's going on over there and the fact that there's a necessity for additional parking. I do know that we also have on the agenda tonight legislation for Red Door as it relates to another business on Roosevelt Road. Many of you that have been in the Village of Broadview have been up and down Roosevelt Road and seen a lot of our empty storefronts. Part of the problem with our empty storefronts and some other developmental opportunities that we may have had has to do with our parking, our local ordinance related to parking and the parking requirements for establishments.
Because of the parking issue and because of the enormity of the size of the senior building, I know that there is a necessity to want to vacate Fillmore at that location. I don't know, I didn't hear what the public outcry was. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that opposed it. I'm sure that there's a lot of discussion that went on, unfortunately I wasn't privy to it. I don't have any feelings one way or the other, and I live in the area. I think that the development in and of itself is very important and critical to the neighborhood because of the fact that we've got a large number of seniors that need the location. I do know that mobility in that area is going to be very challenged by closing down that additional street. I don't know what public safety's weigh-in was on it from the police and fire department and from public works aspect. All of that being said, I don't know what the conclusion was at the end of the board meeting or what the suggestion was by anybody, or whether there was a suggestion made at the end of the 7 o'clock meeting just prior to this one. But I just want to let everybody know that in order for us to move forward with our village ordinances as they stand right now and to create the additional parking, it's almost imperative that that street be vacated. The village engineer, Jim, is that one of those streets that we would be talking about still having a pass-through going into the neighborhood, or is it going to be completely blocked off like the cul-de-sacs? Completely blocked. Okay. Well, that's it. I just wanted to get some clarity on it. Mr. Upshaw, you got something to say?
Yes. In the meeting, one of the primary concern that the residents had that was a misnomer was that the street would be blocked off from 16th to 17th in Fillmore, and that is not the case. Should be from the alleyway. That is correct, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only half the block. It's not the whole block. It should be from the alleyway to the street. I know that, which would make it T on the back side. But, yeah, that's it. That's all I got, Mayor. I'll listen to the rest of the discussion myself.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
No information, not voting.
No.
Okay. Trustee Tierney?
I have no question.
Trustee Horn?
I did go walk the route when I went on my tour of the community with Commissioner Upshaw, because I wanted to see what it is you saw and get an understanding of how it would affect you. So your concerns have been considered, and they've been considered with the right people, so it hasn't been ignored. And so I do understand why you're concerned, but I do think it will be mitigated, and I don't think it'll be as big of a concern as you think it is, because it has been considered. They've walked the route. I walked it with Commissioner Upshaw, and the appropriate people have been considered, and as it relates to how it impacts you. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect, please, that Trustee Abraham arrived to the meeting at 7:57 p.m. Madam President, were you done with comments?
Yes.
Or- okay. Would
Can
you
we
like a
get
roll call?
please?
All right, roll call. Trustee Miller.
I'm really torn. I'm gonna abstain.
Did you have an answer?
Abstain.
Abstain. Trustee Jones?
No. After looking at the plans, no.
Trustee Senior?
You
Yes.
skipped Trustee Abraham.
I'm sorry, Trustee Abraham, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, 5-1. With one
4 to 1.
abstention counting towards the yes. Next item E, an ordinance of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, authorizing and approving a tax increment financing redevelopment agreement by and between the Village of Broadview and the Red Door Meeting Place, Inc.
Need a motion to
Need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Commissioner Upshaw, would you like to talk about the project?
Good evening, Mayor, Board, residents. My name is David Upshaw, Building Commissioner Economic Development Director with the Village of Broadview. And keeping with the previous mayor's vision and our current mayor, Mayor Katrina Thompson, vision and development of the Roosevelt Road corridor, we have a proposed project before you that is going to redevelop 2 properties which are located, I think it's 1519 through 1521 Roosevelt Road. For those of us who have been in Broadview for an extended period of time, it's the pet store and the veterinarian shop. Those properties have been vacant for over 7 years, and we have a developer as well as a business that is interested who has purchased those properties and will be moving forward with the development of those properties. And at this time, to provide you with further information and to give you a brief presentation, is I have Monica Gordon and Vincent R. Williams and Associates.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the Trustee Board, and thank you, Commissioner. What we are looking at on the screen at the moment is a building in its current state. It's a non-productive use of property that is once had a great role more than a decade ago. It was built in 1955, 7,000 square feet, and it's become a bit of a blight and kind of works against the vision of Broadview to develop Roosevelt Road. We hope to do with the creation of the Red Door is to turn this around and make it a productive piece of property and an asset, a one-of-a-kind asset for not only Broadview but for the entire Proviso region.
So welcome to the Red Door meeting place. And this is the logo. And if you can see the beautiful red door, it states established 2018. So as you can see, we're just getting started. So the Red Door is a newly created urban chic meeting hall venue serving the near west suburbs of Chicago with a classy look and feel. Our goals are all based on making the customers feel welcome so they have a good time whether celebrating a memorable occasion or attending a company quarterly meeting. Through the use of design, decor, and lighting, we will create an authentic, unique environment that keeps an engaging atmosphere for customers to feel welcome. So here's a front view of the new building. As you can see that door, it will be red. And if you can imagine where you see the brick design, imagine more of a modernized industrial design. And nothing of its kind is in all of Proviso Township. So this would be a very unique meeting space. So this is a sample floor plan. And if you can see toward the lower right, you will go in through the front door, the red door, you will go into the foyer, then you have the foyer, and you also have the coat room, and you can go into if you see the big meeting space, that holds up to 220 plus guests. But there's also a divider, so you can have 2 different rooms. One will hold 150 guests, and one will hold 80 guests. And so you also have, if you go through, you have the utility rooms, the bathrooms, you have the VIP suite at the upper, if you see the upper left area, and you'll go right out into the patio. So now we'll let you see it for yourself. We'll do a virtual walkthrough. So as we're slowly moving, you can see the front space, and what we showed you before, what the brick layout, this is a more clear version of what you will see with the industrial design. And there you have the red door.
And I'd like to take this moment to thank the representatives from the village, the building department, Public Works, the fire department who helped us in getting started in preparing this presentation.
So we're almost there. We're getting through the red door. So initially you will have the lobby of the foyer, and then you'll have coat check. Now you'll also have a business office space, as well as a warming kitchen.
And the building will still take advantage of its original roof line and the lighting will be unique for the space as well.
So now we're going into the meeting space. So, and like we stated before, there's a divider, so if you want one huge space, or if you're looking for a smaller space. And once again, like, as I stated before, if you're speaking of banquet style seating, it'll be about 220 plus guests. But if you're considering cocktail seating, that can be 320 plus guests. And as you see, the chandeliers, like we said, a very classy, unique space for all of your needs. So we're going through the hall, and as you see, there are the water fountains. And we have different rooms, such as I stated before, the utility room, have a staff break room, a room for mechanicals. This is an example of the break room. So you have the ceiling fans.
What's unique about the space is it can be scaled up or down depending on the need of the customer.
So you have the large garage door, and this is the patio.
And this will accommodate up to 100 people.
So we're back in the hall, and we're about to enter the restrooms.
We wanted to make sure that we had a space that was comfortable and would accommodate either size crowd that we would have in the facility.
So here you have the double sinks, and you have the stalls. So this is the women's bathroom. So you have a double sink, you have 2 stalls, and you have an additional stall which is ADA compliant, and a large area for a large amount of guests. We want everyone to feel comfortable. So now we're in the men's restroom. I'm sorry, no, we're leaving the women's bathroom. We're going past the water fountains again, and we're on our way to the men's restroom.
We're trying to avoid ladies' lines.
So here you have the double sinks as well. You have 2 urinals. And you also have another stall that is ADA compliant and very large.
The objective is to make sure we don't leave anybody out. We want the community, and no matter everyone from the community, to be able to use it. Not just the restrooms, but the facility itself. The concept is to provide something that's visually attractive, and our logo reflects it.
Red door. Thank you. So, well, we're not done. We're not done yet. We want to talk more about the endless possibilities at the Red Door. Weddings, bridal showers, baby showers. You think of birthday parties, anniversaries, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, corporate meetings and events, so you can have your team plan of action meeting. Family gatherings, if you want to do like a paint and sip. If you want to do a high tea, the choice is yours. You have the luxury of the hassle of downtown or expensive Oak Brook. Bringing everyone closer together, and like we stated before, you have a great meeting space unlike anything in this area. And if you see the side, these are sample floor plans. That's more possibilities. As stated before, Red Door wants to the opportunities at Red Door are customizable to what you need, what your needs are. And so these are different floor plans based on what you would like.
And what we hope to do is not just provide a wonderful space in Broadview and give people yet another reason to come to this growing and thriving community, but also to stimulate growth by making the facility itself an incubator, inviting independent businesses, small businesses that may not own their own facilities, to utilize the Red Door as a place to do things like provide bartending services, or to cater, or to do event planning, or provide video services. And I won't read the entire list, but you get the point, that if there's a small business that wants to grow, particularly if it's here in this community, we want to provide a space for that. And we think that there could be a lot of jobs, because we hope to stay busy all the time. We talked about the opportunity for folks to produce, provide flowers, to do the printing, all the things that kind of go, if you think about a wedding, that's a good kind of backdrop for the sorts of things that happen. And those things usually happen at a place like the Drury Inn, where everything is kind of set on a set schedule, whereas this can be customized and utilize small business in addition to the small staff that will exist at the Red Door. We want to make sure that it's a safe place, it's a comfortable place, it's a beautiful place, and it's a place where people can earn money and be and serve as a contribution to this vision for Roosevelt Road.
So some frequently asked questions. Some may want to know how many hours are included in a rental. Now, rental will include a 2-hour minimum, but up to 10 hours in a space. What's included in your rental fee you can either have the large window room, the cocktail parlor, the VIP suite, which goes out into the patio, or the outdoor lounge. Also included are catering prep room, coat room, uplighting, Wi-Fi, and a monitor. And you're probably wondering, do you have to rent tables and chairs? Core tables and chairs are included, but you also can utilize specialized seating, which is available at an upcharge. Like we stated before, we want you to have a customizable experience at the Red Door. It's your world, whatever you want. How many people can be seated? And this was mentioned before. We can seat up to 200 plus guests for a formal banquet style dinner, depending on seating configuration. Guests of over 320 can be seated for a cocktail style reception. And also keep in mind the amount of furniture in the rooms can alter the capacity. So that's up to you, going back to that customizable experience.
I think I should jump in here, because I know that this is an issue, as previously expressed by the former mayor, who was here at the beginning of this great concept, and the issue of parking. We satisfied all of the village's requirements, but we also want to get creative with providing things like valet parking, where we can have off-campus parking, where we would not have to inundate the very limited uses of space that are there. We also hope to develop relationships with our neighbor retailers to see if we might be able to use their facilities, parking lots for churches, other creative ways to try to make sure that everyone is comfortable and accommodated. That's very important to us, that this be an asset to the community and not a net negative.
Now, if you're wondering if you have to use one of the approved caterers, yes, we prefer that you select from one of the pre-approved catering lists. And as far as an event planner, that's not necessary at the Red Door meeting place. We will supply you with a recommended vendor and walk you through the steps of the process. Of course, someone will definitely be there the day of. A Red Door representative will always be there on site. As far as bringing in your own alcohol, no. A full-service bar with bartenders and servers may be contracted. Bar packages are available for purchase.
As we took a look at where we've come from and where we are, we acquired the property for a little over $72,000. We've invested already about $140,000 in soft costs, including architectural renderings, and our very slow but beautiful video presentation was a part of that. We anticipate the construction and rehab costs, which will also create some additional job opportunities, is going to be $768,000, almost $769,000. And the grand total for the investment will be just shy of $1 million at $980,000. And we believe that roughly half of that, about 48% of that cost could be supported with support from government. And we're hoping to get as much support as we can. We've already identified our financing, and we are itching to go to get us open and ready to walk into not this, but that.
So there you have it, the Red Door meeting place where everyone will feel welcomed in an engaging atmosphere. Thank you.
Give us one moment while we wait for the clerk.
I failed to say something, and I know if I don't say it, it's going to bother me for the rest of the night. It's my OCD kicking in. I'm apologizing in advance. But there are revenue opportunities, not only in the commercial real estate tax, the property taxes, the sales tax, and the money that will be generated from each one of these events. So we just wanted to make sure that you know that we've given some great thought to this being a net winner for not only for the Red Door, but for the community and for the vision on Roosevelt.
Thank you for the presentation. Trustee Miller?
So while I like the idea of having our own full-service meeting place / entertainment venue / banquet facility, I was one of the people that was kind of concerned about parking, but after driving through the neighborhood and driving through the area, I realized that we have a municipal lot directly across the street. So to see that you guys are willing to do a type of valet service so that we don't clog up our residential parking area or street, our residential street with parking of cars that actually don't belong in the community is great. My question is probably more streets related. Did we do, what is our process for making sure that 16th Avenue and 17th, or 16th Avenue and 15th Avenue, because that would be affected, can actually have the same signs that we have around the Blue Note that says that there's residential parking during certain areas, so that later in the evening when residents are starting to come home, they're not affected by cars just being out.
Prior to the initial, let me say this, the initial talks of this project as it relates to the Red Door meeting place, the safety committee met, and one of the main concerns was parking. And with that, my understanding is that they are in the process, the owners of the meeting place are in the process of negotiating with Pete's. They also are interested in purchasing our lot to the east, as well as they're also in negotiations with the lot to the west, who are private owners. That's private parking, that is not public parking. As we talk about public parking, you have on 16th, you have about 20 stalls on each side. That's on 16th. And Roosevelt, you also have across the street, which is a public lot. And you have a lot you have parking on 15th, which is another 15 or 20 spaces as well as it relates to public parking. But our concern was to address the private parking issue, and in their response and our comments and how we looked at it when we walked the site, we were comfortable with what they were doing.
And I also just wanted to state in the presentation when I stated the capacity. For instance, we talked about cocktail seating at 320 plus guests. That's the capacity. Right now, some of the interest has been business meetings where you're talking about 15 or 20 people, or events where it's like 40 to 50 people. But I definitely want to state what the numbers that I gave were capacity.
And I appreciate the confirmation there and realize that not at all times it's going to be just a single person in a car. I'm still concerned about the actual street parking. What can we do to make sure that we have either the same or similar signage there that we have in front of or on the side streets for the Blue Note?
I don't see Director Ames, but as it relates to signage, I can address that with the Public Works Director as well as Jim Goomis, the engineer.
Okay.
So in terms of signage, that's not a problem. We can go before the Safety Committee to address that concern and make sure that it's planned out properly as it relates to just like the Blue Note.
Okay.
That's it, Trustee Miller?
That's it.
Trustee Jones?
Wow. A couple of things come to mind right away. I was here at the beginning of this project, and parking was the biggest issue. Coincidentally, and one of the reasons why I voted against vacating the street on Fillmore is because this property is exactly 1 block away. It would be a means of egress in and out to get to and from the parking area that they're describing right now. The area directly to the north of this property has a lot of multi-unit buildings, apartment buildings, 6 flats, 12 flats, so on and so forth, on 16th, 15th, and 14th. Dave, what is the village code for on-site parking for an entity that has this type of capacity? What does the village code say?
If you give me just a minute, I can get that information.
Then the reason I'm asking Dave this is because this became part and parcel to the litigation with the library and not having enough parking, and people ending up being parked on the street by the library, and we ultimately ended up in court. This was one of the 3 key issues as related to the library lawsuit. You talk about 320 capacity, even if it's 200. If you've ever been at 17th and Roosevelt on Thursday or Friday night when the Blue Note is popping, Blue Note's capacity is under 200. There's no parking for 2 or 3 blocks in any direction. Cars are up and down 17th Avenue. They're parked on Fillmore. They're parked as far to the west as 19th and 20th Street. They're parked in municipal lots across the street. If in fact you guys have 320 people, and I'll just say 200, you're gonna be hard pressed to find enough parking. And for those of you that don't live in the area, and I live in the area, I live within a couple of blocks of this location, it's already very transient, it's already compacted because that's the area where all the liquor stores are. We've got 3 liquor stores in town, and all 3 of the liquor stores are in that area. One's on 18th, one's on 14th, and one's on 17th, and all of them on the north side of Roosevelt Road. So there's a lot of traffic over there. These were the type of things that I was sharing with the property owner when at the onset of this, which is why I think that for us to even consider approving the development agreement would be premature unless they come in with letters of intent to actually purchase the other lot and create additional parking and have agreements with either the church or Pete's or whoever else it is. There's also a vacant lot across the street from this privately owned. It used to be a store on the back of the dollar store. I don't know what the answer is. As relates to the signage that my neighbor here, Judy, talked about, we actually got petitions from the people as it relates to Blue Note because of a lot of ancillary things that occurred in their front yards and in their backyards with people coming out of the Blue Note, walking through their grass, walking through their yards, so on and so forth. Not saying that that's what would happen over here, but anything is a possibility. But to be quite honest, the congestion over there with that number of people in that small of an area could be problematic. And as it relates to the village code, I would suggest that this board consider revising the village code as it relates to on-site parking for these type of entities, because it's part of the reasons why a lot of our storefronts on Roosevelt Road are vacant in the first place, because of our parking requirements. Our parking requirements are outdated. They go way back to who knows when. But these are some of the things that need to be addressed going forward as it relates to developing that Roosevelt Road and 17th Avenue corridor. I'm still waiting on David to get back, but we talk about 7,000 square feet. 7,000 square feet, is that actually what's going to still be inside once you guys get done with your renovations over there? Is you still going to have 7,000 square feet capacity?
The footprint of the building won't change. It'll probably be truncated because you're chopping it up with offices and warming rooms and break rooms. So the actual usable space will probably be reduced. Right now, it's an open facility. Once you redesign it, it'll probably come down to a smaller footprint.
Right. So, and then we talk about a couple of other things that you mentioned. You talk about the sale of alcohol or the use of alcohol on the location. You talk about parties, weddings, meetings, et cetera, so on and so forth. And then trying to cross Roosevelt Road with no light at that corner. You'd have to walk another block to get to a light just to cross the street. So there are a lot of things that came to mind when I first, this was first brought to me, my first knowledge of it. And some of the things that I talked about with the property owner and the building department. Talked to Dave about this at great length. And I would caution the members of the board that prior to us engaging in an agreement as it relates to a development agreement, I think that we should have the agreements on the parking in hand or in place. Dave, you ready? I thought you'd already looked it up, knowing this guy. No. So I just think that we should just have the agreements or the letters of intent in hand with the actual number of parking spaces that will be utilized or created in the development. Those are my comments, and I'm gonna leave it to the rest of the Board of Trustees to carry on with their own comments. That completes my comment.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustee Abraham?
I like the idea. I think it's a nice thing to be putting on Roosevelt Road as the community's obviously growing and expanding. I think it's a nice place, that what you guys have shown us and stuff. You know, as far as, you know, like I said, I've sat on the zoning board prior to being a trustee, so just definitely looking at parking issues and safety in the community. The other thing would be, it looks like the hours of operation are gonna be 7 days a week at least by the time, you know, with you guys renting it out and doing different things, which I think is great, because you're gonna have that activity and you're gonna have you know, the community be able to utilize it as well as others coming into the community. I mean, I like the way it's gonna look. I like how it's gonna be a nice fixture on Roosevelt Road after so many years of just having vacant spots or buildings that nobody is interested in. So I think it's definitely part of development. I just think we need to kind of figure out how we can work hand in hand with the parking issue just because of the community around it. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a great idea for our community to have this. I really do. And I think it's important. So if we can just work out a few little things, I'm not sure, you know, I know the police know how much traffic goes up and down at certain hours of that time as well, especially during different, like Friday nights, Saturday nights, especially when you're having weddings or parties there. I just want to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm sure the chief will work with you guys, and I'm sure, you know, where this is going to be located. So again, I just think it's going to be a great improvement to our Roosevelt Road corridor. So I'm for it. Just so you know, the parking and making sure we can work it out that everybody's happy. Because again, the residents live here, and you have people coming in visiting. So it's kind of like that coming together type thing. So that's all my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Senior.
I like the idea. I think it's something that Broadview needs. We need something like that here. But like Judy was saying, and everybody else, we just have to work out a few of the glitches with the parking and trying to keep the residents safe, you know, at nighttime and stuff like that. So.
Well, no, I want to make sure I reiterate this point that safety inside and outside the facility is probably our number one concern beyond making sure that folks are entertained and have a good time. The fire department, the police department, public works, the buildings department have kind of given us guidance all the way along, and we want to continue in that vein. Parking is an issue, not necessarily it's going to be caused by this, but it's going to be impacted by this. And I think that if we can be creative together, I think that we could probably surmount this. What I'm concerned about is timing, the construction season, and not delaying it unnecessarily and putting us in a position where I'm back next year. We'll say, well, we had 16 meetings and we finally figured it out, so now let's get started. I would, urge, if possible, for us to be able to continue to work on this as we move forward, rather than stopping progress and then fixing it and then moving forward after that. Because, we live in a 3-month construction world, and I just like every opportunity to be able to move the process forward if we could.
Thank you, Trustee Tierney.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Have you guys researched any other locations within the village that could accommodate the numbers that you're talking about?
I am not aware of, I know that there were 1 or 2 other facilities that were looked at, but they just weren't on the main drag. I hate using that resource, but you want the most impact. You want to be where the people are. You want to be where there's activity, because that aids in safety, that aids in traffic. It's also free advertisement because of the traffic counts. So there were lots of things that drew us to that location, and we had a non-productive piece of property that we saw as it being a win-win for the community and for us simultaneously.
Okay.
So that's why that particular site was chosen.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Trustee Horn?
Okay, do you want me to?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I have a few questions. I'm just curious, how do you intend to acknowledge or say thank you to the veterans who want to use your facility?
My dad was a World War II vet, fought in World War II in the Navy, was actually injured in war, which is unique for a African-American who was usually put back in the kitchen on the cleanup detail, but he was actually injured. Veterans will play a high role with us as they do in all of our lives. More than 10% of just about every community in our state are veteran-owned. These businesses, we hoped that if we could attract some veteran-owned businesses that could provide some of those services and be a part of our incubator, we would fully embrace that. Okay. Because we realize that a lot of those guys, they come home and what they used to do in the military, they can't make the switch over into civilian life. And if we could figure out a way to celebrate them and also have them be a part of the enterprise, we'd love that.
Okay, and so in addition to that, anybody that just want to use your facility, if they show you their military ID and they they were in the service or they formally served, I would expect them to be acknowledged as it relates to money.
Well, I can't.
Also known as a discount.
Well, I can't see that would be a problem
Okay.
either if we figure that out.
Okay.
The veteran community is, at the state level and at most local government levels, we try to figure out a way to accommodate and make it a little easier for people who put their lives on the line for us.
Thank you.
And I don't think that we would like to be in step with those folks doing that just like the community does it.
Good. I do like this idea. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I know I had concerns, but I think there's a bigger picture or a bigger vision that's involved that needs to be considered, and the logistics can be worked out. The parking is a real issue. I do think the issue can be mitigated. I would like to see like a letter of intent or something more formal related to purchasing the vacant lot, considering that that's one of the lots that I believe we saw on the tour when we were going around. So there was concerns before related to all the village-owned properties, and village is not, and somebody made the comment, something to the effect of the village isn't supposed to be like a real estate owner or something like that. And so this will help offset that if they're looking to purchase that particular vacant lot, but I would like to see something in writing related to it. I have a few other questions. I would have also liked to see in your visual, it would have been nice to see the parking and so we could have had a visual in addition to the video. When I was reading this and it had the statement in here, remote work location, do you expect people to be working remotely from your location? Am I interpreting that correctly? It says remote work at conference hall and remote work location. And I didn't understand what that meant.
No, I think what that's really referring to is, I think that's referring to our incubator, where there wouldn't be people who would necessarily work for us, but would have an opportunity to work with us to have their own enterprise within our enterprise.
Okay, okay. There was a comment made related to catering, and I didn't get the answer when you said that, you know, you prefer them to use your own caterers, but is that a yes or a no? They have to or no?
Well, we would prefer that they go through a process and get established as an established caterer, and then they could be used.
Okay.
So just someone coming off the street, I found my sister-in-law, she can cook too. No, you have to be an approved caterer. You have to have all of the licenses and all of the health code things, because we don't want anybody to get hurt, because this is a public place.
Good, makes sense. Then the other final question I have is, I didn't see, unless I overlooked it, the price range for renting the facilities?
I think that's all going to be worked out, but
It hasn't been figured out yet.
we have to make sure that we're working in concert with the village. We want to make sure we're we tried to say it this way, that we don't want you to be treated like you're treated when you go to downtown Chicago and have to pay $50 to park, or go to Oak Brook and it costs you more than a house to have a big event. We want to do something that is affordable for ordinary people. So whatever that is, I don't have the price list as yet, because we just aren't that far down the line, but we want to make sure we accommodate the community, and that's why we want it to be in this community.
Okay, so like I said, in summary, I had issues, and I think it is a real issue that does have to be resolved related to the parking. I don't think the logistics related to it has been completely vetted, and we do need to take the time to do it, but I don't think it's enough to delay the project because of the long-term benefits that will be realized within the village as a result of having a business like this within the community. So I think it's worth it.
Thank you, Trustee Horn. Commissioner Upshaw, you got the information?
As it relates to, when we're talking about parking in our village code, we need to turn to zoning, which is chapter 10 in our village code. But I also, as I was looking in here, I saw that, and I don't know if you guys have the agreement in front of you, but 3.08 in your agreement talks about that the Red Door will have to be compliant with all village codes and ordinances. So as we continue to move forward in this project, we will address and can continue to address the parking. Because in our code in chapter 10, it's not clear specifically as it addresses the type of project that we have, i.e. the meeting place, because it's new.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
I'd like to get a rebuttal, Madam President.
Go ahead.
I'd like to caution the trustees as it relates to this, because listening to Trustee Horn, I was listening to what she was talking about and what Dave's talking about as it relates to this whole thing. If in fact this project goes forward and they do not secure the parking, then what? You know, as a village, we need to do our due diligence to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, you know, all our ducks are in a row before we make this agreement. Otherwise, we end up in the same situation we end up with the library, and you end up with a stale project that sits out there for some years. And let me add to that, I'm not against the project at all. Actually, I'm for the project. I talked at great length to them about this project, but I think that parking needs to be addressed before we enter into a development agreement as relates to TIF incentives or anything else, absent agreements on parking or letters of intent on parking. I think that should come first. After that, anything's possible. I just think that parking really, really needs to be addressed because it's critical. Because if they don't get the parking after we make these agreements, then we got an issue. And I understand that their agreement says they're going to be code compliant, but as we sit here today, they're not. They're not code compliant because they don't have any agreements in hand, and at least they haven't presented anything to us as it relates to being compliant with the code. Mr. Attorney?
Trustee, you raised good points. As far as the agreement it requires them to comply with the village's parking requirements. That's there. Now the agreement hasn't been signed by the developer yet, and I mean they are taking a risk entering into the agreement based on their belief that they're gonna be able to ultimately meet the code's requirements with respect to parking. And that's a risk that they're gonna take. If they do not obtain the parking requirement, I mean, the village's obligation to reimburse TIF funds wouldn't arise.
So you're saying our financial exposure is not impacted by this at all? Because that's my concern.
No, if they need to comply with the village zoning requirements. And again, the agreement hasn't been signed, and if we need to, add additional language to it, the attorney for the developer just mentioned that was something that they'd be willing to do. But like I said, I think that it would be redundant. It's already in there that they need to comply with the village code with respect to zoning and all government approvals. So if they're willing to take, the risk is on the developer at this point, and I believe that they're gonna work diligently to do what they need to do with respect to parking.
Thank you. That's it. That's my only issue is the village's exposure to finances, absent parking.
No, it's a fair question, but the risk is on the developer in this situation.
All right.
Thank you.
So at what stage are we currently at with the developer now? So it seems like the property has already been purchased, so regardless of what happens, that property is now Red Doors. But at what stage are we at for, first of all, compliance, and second of all, exposure, but then third of all, to leave them possibly with a stale project? What stage is the client and the contractor or developer currently at now?
I believe that the property's been purchased, construction has begun. There's based on a presumption that the agreement would be passed tonight, that they need to apply for any type of zoning or government approval by July 31st.
Okay.
So things are gonna move quickly. I think they've just been waiting on basically approval from the village, that the village supported the project.
Thank you.
So to answer your question specifically, they spent close to $200,000 as it relates to the purchase and demolition of the property. That's where they are right now. I don't know as it relates to, I know they have their financing in place and they're ready to go. So that means that the next step in the process after considering this agreement would be submit plans and things of that nature, i.e. ordinances and village codes. So if they cannot meet the parking requirement or they have to make some adjustments, that impacts $200,000 that they've already invested in the community, in the village of Broadview.
So to satisfy all 6 members of the board, excluding the mayor in this instance, we don't even have a specific parking ordinance requirement. What's the process for us to get that so that we can see it and not halt their project, but still say that we can be in line with what's going on for development?
Oh, no, that's a good question, trustee. So they need to apply for all government approvals. That means they would need to apply with the zoning department, Commissioner Upshaw, for zoning relief with respect to the parking requirement if they need it. Okay. So if they're able to enter into a license agreement with, I believe that there's a business owner nearby that expressed willingness to do that. If that satisfies the requirement, they wouldn't need any zoning relief, and that would be it. They'd be fine.
Okay.
But if they do need to, I think the Roosevelt corridor, for change in uses, the parking requirement is cut in half per the village code. So if they're able to satisfy that, then assuming that applies, then they would be fine at that point. But if not, then they would need to apply for zoning relief.
Okay.
So who has the final say, the village board or the zoning board, if it comes to the issue that they need zoning? If they need consideration of zoning.
For parking variation, it would go to the zoning board first, and the zoning board's a recommending body, and it would ultimately come to the village board for a final decision. So the zoning board, if they approved it or denied it, it would ultimately come to the board, and the board would have final say.
So it's still going to.
Okay.
That's it? Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
And that carries 6-0. Okay, during the presentation, it was brought to my attention that item D, because of the kind of ordinance it is, it requires a 3/4 affirmative vote to approve. So at this time, I would like to ask for consideration for reconsideration of ordinance, or item D, I should say.
So I make a motion to reconsider, item D.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Miller and seconded by trustee Tierney to reconsider item D. And just for the record, I'll reread what item D is. It's an ordinance vacating a portion of Fillmore Street between 17th Avenue and 16th Avenue in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois. So, Madam President, at this time, we have, it's open for discussion.
So, just so the residents know, I actually pulled the attorney aside to have a discussion in regards to the vacating of 16th, Fillmore from 17th Avenue to the alley. My biggest concern literally was the passageway through the alley. I wanted to, review safety on going through the alley and just discuss what other options our residents will have, because I know that there were so many cul-de-sacs that already happened in that area. While I don't live on that side of town, I don't know how effective it is for you guys or that side of town to go through the alley. So if it doesn't affect traffic, or if it didn't affect safety, then I was kind of okay with closing off 16 Fillmore to the alleyway. But I was concerned about the safety of our residents going through the alley. I am more ecstatic that it kind of forces us to use Harvard Street where the stoplight is at, if we decide to go back to a main side street per se versus just using that alleyway. So I had to actually pull the attorney aside and say, I get my abstention, but here's my reservations with just giving a flat out yes. When we were out walking, months ago, that was one of the concerns, and I literally was held at someone's house on the corner for 30 minutes because she said, I need to know what your intentions are with vacating Fillmore. I wanted to get more information about it. Tonight, I literally was like, I'm torn, I'm swaying. I don't want to sway, and I don't want to leave anybody up in arms about it. Harvard Street is pretty much a good street for us to go down because there's a light there. I wouldn't suggest our residents just taking an alleyway to get home or to get back to 16th Street. That I'm not an alley type of driver myself, so I get that part. I just urge us to make sure that we kind of force traffic back to stay on 16th. And another reason I was torn was because of the new project that we were anticipating coming. I want to make sure that while we're forcing the closure, that we're not taking away parks from our residents because of that street closure as well. So that's why I brought up, can we make sure that we have the proper signage out there to say, if you're not a resident of Broadview, don't just park on our street and leave your cars there. Because I know, sometimes at the Blue Note, and I attend the Blue Note every now and then, and I know sometimes, people get a little excited to see someone they haven't seen in a while, and they'll park their car and leave it and come back, or just block off someone's park that might be handicapped or need quick access to their home. So that was one of my reservations. Now that we've discussed the Red Door project, the absolute need for us to have a letter of intent on their parking situation, I'm okay with revisiting item D for the vacation of Fillmore.
Trustee Jones?
What vacating Fillmore does is it gives you only one way in and one way out on the western end of our area, and that's at Harvard, and that's at a light. So you're held hostage by a light. Add to that, there's parking on both sides of Harvard on that side street. There are times today where you can't turn that corner because there's an apartment building, or six flat building that sits right on the corner over there. There's also a daycare center at that exact same intersection where there are parents and kids at, and we're getting ready to put even more traffic into that along with the church. Yeah, it's just gonna create a lot of congestion at that location. Well, I looked at the plan here, and I see that where Fillmore is in the plan that Commissioner Upshaw gave me, and I appreciate you for giving it to me. I actually see where the street is. And actually where the street is, let me find it again, quite a large portion of it is decorative. It's fencing, masonry, garden wall, and a drop-off lane, and some other stuff. If in fact we're going to consider an amendment to our parking code, I think that we should reconsider the vacation of the street. I think if we would reconsider an amendment to the code or an exception to the code for the purposes of this particular project, and at least leave the street there. Because when you look at it, and I'll show it to my fellow trustee here, you'll see that this is decorative. This is more decorative and not necessarily substantive. It's not parking. It's not all parking, not 100% parking. So I don't know if you've ever lived in an area where there's cul-de-sacs, and I approve the cul-de-sacs for a number of different reasons, and the board approved the cul-de-sacs for a number of different reasons, because of the traffic going through there, primarily in an area that has a grammar school where we were having graffiti on the school ground, drug sales on the school ground, and we did not have police to park there and watch what was going on in the area. Secondly, you have 3 liquor stores there, and there was a lot of alcoholics, traffic at 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning going through people's yards and stuff back and forth to the liquor stores. Guess what? If they can't drive through there now, there's going to be even more foot traffic in the neighborhood, because those liquor stores are still there. They're not going anywhere. The liquor store on 17th, the liquor store on 14th are kitty corner in that particular square. One's at the far southeastern end, and the other is at the far northwestern end of that particular location. So these are the things that I was considering, and I originally wanted to cul-de-sac it off, but I've had second thoughts. I'm not a perfect guy, that's for sure, and I've certainly made mistakes, but I originally wanted to block the street off, and I just do not think that right now it's a prudent idea, especially if we're going to add the red door a block away, and we're going to put 200 to 300 more cars there a couple days a week, So that's my concern as it relates to this. I think that maybe we should reconsider the development plan for this particular project and take a look at our own village ordinance or village zoning ordinance as it relates to parking for this type of entity. But that's just me.
Thank you,
That's
Trustee
my 2
Abraham.
cents.
Regarding the senior project, I mean, that's something that's been in the works for a long time, a lot of years, so, obviously it was being worked through, it was being done through the, as far as acquiring property, so, again, it was something that was on the books for quite some time, and I'm sure Director Upshaw could talk about how long it's been on the books and in a plan. And I'm sure Trustee Jones knows too, it was something that was discussed about having a senior housing to keep our community together, so that residents can stay in Broadview and that they grew up here or whatever, or how long they've been here, they can still continue to stay here. So obviously there was accommodations made. Again, I know with Red Door coming on Roosevelt Road and the senior housing, yes, there is gonna be congestion and, but again, I think through our developers and our attorneys, if they can work out some agreements, or try to, I guess you're never gonna stop traffic. There's no way you're gonna stop traffic, with the connections of communities. And as you can see, the improvement on Roosevelt Road, the street itself, obviously, we're connecting from, downtown, the city of Chicago, and we're, from Oak Park to every town it's passing through all the way out west. So, I mean, there's gonna be traffic, and that's the norm. More people are driving. But, we have to do things for our community to improve the aesthetics and improve our residents' ability to live here. And I mean, the senior housing is a project that, I think is a great thing we're doing, and we should continue to do it. And if we have to tweak it a little bit, we tweak it. But if not, I mean, the way it's structured now, I think it's gonna provide a nice scenario. The thing with Red Door, with that, I think that's another plus to our community on Roosevelt Road. So we're having that balance between our Cermak Road development and our Roosevelt Road development. I mean, obviously there's traffic on Cermak Road. I mean, how many times if you go to Harlem Avenue from 17th, it's traffic. I mean, it is what it is. So I just want to make sure the community's better. I think these developments on Roosevelt Road, it's a long time coming. you know, that we're doing something on Roosevelt Road. So I support what we're trying to do here.
Thank you, trustee Senior.
I think that it's a good idea. It's something that's been in the works, and we should just move forward with it.
Thank you, trustee Tierney.
No additional comments.
Trustee Horn.
I just think that we need to take the time to actually vet out the logistics. I don't think that we've completely vetted it out to make sure that it's seamless by any means. So I think that the concerns by trustee Miller, trustee Jones are legitimate. I just don't think it's enough to say, to delay the decision today. It's nothing preventing us from working out the logistics going forward and making sure things are in place. So if it's something I'm missing, then enlighten me now, but we can still figure it out and make sure it's all in place, but the businesses add value to the community and we need it. And so as it relates to the parking on Fillmore and the issues with the residents, the parking as it relates to Red Door, we can figure it out and make sure that things are in place and perhaps consider it together and, you know, as one entire scope, Fillmore and Red Door, and how the parking needs to be resolved to accommodate the entire community. But it's not enough, I don't think, to delay the decision today.
Thank you, trustee Horn. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President.
Before we get a roll call, I actually wanted the attorney to speak on the actual project plan and our taxing requirement for the project plan and the percentages that we discussed.
Which project you talking about?
The one we're voting on.
The vacating of the lot? Okay.
Yeah,
So the
Mayor,
senior housing
trustee
plan.
Miller had asked about, so there's tax credits that are funding this project, and the decision to vacate Fillmore wasn't one made lightly, and there was a meeting of the firefight, the fire and the police, and everyone was there to vet this project. As far as the way that the tax credits are obtained is you have to apply to the state and to the federal government, and the application, they consider the number of units and they consider the project as presented. So if we were to change the scope of the project, impact the number of parking spots, we could result in lesser units. But it's a long way of saying that the tax credits that we've obtained would essentially, we wouldn't have them anymore, and we'd be having to reapply. So there'd be no guarantee that we would get the credits a second time. So that's the risk that we run with changing the scope of the project at this point.
So it is what it is.
So that was my, and I'm sorry, Madam President, but that was kind of my discussion with the attorneys. I'm like, we're literally already at gunpoint with what we requested, and to make any edits or additional changes to that, we kind of put ourselves back behind the gun again. So I did ask how many notices we sent out, because I want to make sure that everyone knows that there's a possibility that the board can vote for that. So certified letters were sent out, as well as publications, as well as postings, and I even took to my Facebook page and posted about it and text all my residents that I knew that were in the area, and of course they're not here either. So one part of me says is we communicated it. Were we effective in the communications? And if none of the letters were returned back from the certified mailer, then I kind of feel a little bit better about that decision.
As soon as you vacate, you can hear from everybody. Trust and believe. As soon as we notified everybody about the cul-de-sacs, as soon as we cul-de-sac, that we got phone calls and people knocking down the doors for about 2 months, including our neighbors to the north of us.
I imagine.
You know, so you will hear from them.
Just a couple things I want to say and be brief. Number one, we've had several safety committee meetings that have been vetted out by our department heads, specifically fire department, as well as the police department and public works, that addresses the safety issue. January 22nd, 2019, the board granted a variance to reduce the parking requirements for the senior housing project, because it is a unique project in itself. And on May 17th, Mayor Thompson and I attended the Illinois Housing Department Authority Board meeting. At that meeting, Resolution 2019-1HDA-09H, which authorized 1.5 million credits, which equates to $13 or $14 million, were approved for our senior housing project. So I just want to keep that, I want you guys to keep that in mind, that, and I know I have Jim Walrus here from Ross Financial. Very few applications get passed on the first try. I thought we put together a very competitive application, the Village of Broadview with Ross, as well as support from the mayor and legal counsel. And at every step of the way, as the mayor talks about transparency, we've had safety committee meetings, we've invited people out. And it is correct, Trustee Miller, none of the, we sent out letters, certified, return receipt, and none of them came back. And we've had 2 safety committee meetings where the public was invited, and the 2 ladies that are here now, 3 now, were the only ones that came. After the meeting, I did get calls asking me what the letters were about. But outside of that, we have communicated via the website, via the newspaper, via certified return receipt, the hallway, and on our website. So if there are any additional ways that the board would like us to communicate, please let us know, because I do feel we are communicating, but I can't force anybody to come out. That's true. To get involved in their community.
They never do.
And so, and I'll finish it with this, and this is just my personal opinion. What's wrong with having a traffic problem in Broadview?
Hello.
I'm just,
That's real.
so I'll leave it at that, 'cause I don't want to start.
Thank you, Commissioner Upshaw.
That's real.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President.
I want my house to be worth something. I'm sorry.
Again, we're voting on item D. This is a reconsideration. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Madam President, this passes 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item. Item F, a resolution mourning the passing of Sherman Everidge for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President?
Trustee Miller?
So here's another one that, and I'm sorry to keep you guys here, but here's another one that I was concerned about, and I don't want anyone to feel like one person is bigger or better than anybody else in the community. So I literally reached out back to the mayor and was like, hey, why are we approving a memorial tribute, basically? Is that open to every resident? So just so that, everyone knows, if anyone from Broadview, transitions on, it's on our village website. We can contact our clerk to have the same resolution and consideration for every resident in Broadview. So before I even thought about approving it, discussing it, or anything, I instantly was like, what is this, and does this apply to everybody? So we give our sympathy to Mr. Sherman Everidge. And I literally had a few people that I knew. I guess he was a teacher, maybe at Lindop, but I'm not sure, because she's a little older than I am. But she reached out and was like, hey, that's a good idea that you guys are paying tribute to my former teacher. But even outside of that, if someone, in our immediate families or our families or friends that that's from Broadview, let us know so that we can extend that same courtesy.
Thank you. Trustee Jones?
Oh, I have none.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Senior?
I have nothing.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
So whereas the village president and the board of trustees of the village are saddened by the death of Sherman Everidge, and whereas Sherman Everidge was born on September 5th, 1939 in Montgomery, Alabama, to Sherman Everidge Sr. and Anna Mae Everidge, and leaves behind 11 wife, Jocelyn, and 2 daughters, Narissa and Shauna Everidge. Sherman served in the U.S. Army and the Army Reserves in the early 1960s and was honorably discharged in 1966. And whereas after his service to the United States, he taught in the Chicago Public Schools for 35 years as an elementary school instructor. As a member of the Broadview community since 1987, Sherman was well-known and helped many people over the years. And whereas Sherman was a faithful member of Broadview Missionary Baptist Church under the pastorate of Emirates Pastor Clarence Hobson and Pastor Marvin G. Parker, Sherman faithfully attended Sunday worship service and Wednesday night prayer meeting until his health began declining. And whereas based on the foregoing of the corporate authorities have determined that it is necessary and appropriate to mourn the passing of Sherman Erich and extend their sincere condolences to his family, friends, and all who knew and loved him. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the President and the Village Board of the Village of Broadview, Cook County, State of Illinois. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, next item, 8, application for the authority to expend funds. We have none at this time. Item 9, village clerk, Kevin McGreer. I knew Sherman Everidge personally. He was a neighbor of mine. He lives right around the corner, literally 30 seconds walk from my house, and he did help a lot of people in the village. He taught for many years in the Chicago public school system, and everybody that walked in the neighborhood saw Sean because he was out there taking care of his yard and greeting people as they walked to Lindup. And I've heard this not only from my personal experience, but from other neighbors nearby. And he was a really nice guy. And I was very saddened to hear of his passing, and glad that we as a village can honor our neighbors and friends in the village of Broadview. We've done this on many occasions before, and Sherman was certainly a guy that was deserving of this. So with that being said, Madam President, I have no other thing on my report, which moves us to item 10, Village President, Mayor Katrina Thompson.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. A couple of notes that I'd just like to remind the trustees that our legislation goes out on Thursday, and that gives the trustees an opportunity to review the legislation and to ask the department heads or myself if they have any questions or concerns as it relates to any matters that's brought before the public. Certain commissioners decide that they want to address it in a public setting, and I'm okay with that because that's true transparency. But to get your questions answered as it relates to parking issues or certain information as it related to the red door, that could have been addressed with Commissioner Upshaw. I know a couple of trustees have reached out to me personally, and I'm sure they probably reached out to Commissioner Upshaw as well. So we'd like to kind of get all of our answers and questions answered prior to, so I'll just ask and remind the trustees that please read your information. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to my office or the department head, whoever has the legislation that's brought before the board to be addressed so that we can be accountable. We have all our questions and concerns addressed at the time of the matter that it comes up, but most certainly we want to have that transparency with the community as it relates to whatever the issue was or whatever the question or concerns was. And I can just say, Trustee Horn and Trustee Miller, they did reach out to me to address a lot of the issues under discussion that took place tonight. So I just want to say thank you for being, that type of leader. Those are the type of leaders and legislators that we want to move our village forward. So we have to have that type of accountability. So with that being said, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
It was moved by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Horn. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, we are hereby adjourned at 9:08 p.m. Thank you.
Good night and God bless you.